Wes Streeting, the erstwhile Health Secretary, now has resigned from the government and penned a letter to the Prime Minister, a rather long letter to the Prime Minister, in which he explains his reasons. It's the 6th paragraph of the letter before he even addresses the fact that he's stepping down and there needs to be change at the top. The first 5 paragraphs are entirely about his time as Health Secretary and the achievements therein. There's been some very good news on NHS waiting lists today, for example, and he thanks the people that he's worked with in the NHS. But the key thing here is what this means for government. I'm joined in the studio by Lewis Goodall, presenter of Sundays with Lewis Goodall, co-host of Global's podcast and Newsagents. Natasha Clark is here, LBC's political editor, and John McDonald, Labour MP for Hayes and Harlington, and former Shadow Chancellor as well, former Labour Shadow Chancellor. Good afternoon to all of you, especially to John McDonald. Lewis, can I kick off with you here? I've just read the letter, or scanned the letter very quickly. He spends a great deal of essentially the whole of the first page talking about the NHS and his achievements therein and what he thinks is important about it. But then he goes for it, doesn't he?
He does, Sheila, and I think it's fair to say that he does not spare the Prime Minister's blushes. He goes on after that long exegesis where he basically compliments himself. He says, "You have many great strengths that I admire." This is the Prime Minister. "You led our party to victory, few thought possible in 2024. He salutes his statesmanship and courage on the world stage. But then he says, "But where we need vision, we have a vacuum. Where we need direction, we have drift. This was underscored by your speech on Monday. Leaders take responsibility, but too often that has meant other people falling on their swords. You also need to listen to your colleagues, including backbenchers, and the heavy-handed approach to dissenting voices diminishes our politics." And he goes on to say, "It is now clear that you will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election. Labour MPs and Labour unions want the debate about what comes to be a battle of ideas, not of personalities or petty factionalism. It needs to be broad, and it needs the best possible field of candidates." What's interesting about that letter is that it's pretty excoriating about the Prime Minister's style. It's clear, as we know, that he does not believe that the Prime Minister has what it takes to be an effective Prime Minister or to lead the Labour Party. As far as I can see, and I suppose we'll await confirmation on this, he doesn't explicitly say in the letter that he's actually challenging. What he's saying is he's resigning because he doesn't believe that the Prime Minister has what it takes to continue to lead the Labour Party. I assume we will get clarification of whether or not he's doing that second stage of not just resigning, but challenging imminently.
Wes Streeting has resigned as Health Secretary, and he didn't hold back. In a blistering letter to the Prime Minister, he spent the first 5 paragraphs praising his own NHS record and thanking staff. Then he delivered the killer blow. He praised Starmer's 2024 election win and world-stage leadership before tearing into him. "Where we need vision, we have a vacuum. Where we need direction, we have drift." Streeting accused the Prime Minister of letting others fall on their swords, crushing dissenting voices and failing to listen. He declared bluntly that Starmer will not lead Labour into the next election and called for a full, open leadership contest. A battle of ideas, not personalities. A devastating resignation that leaves the government reeling.
That's an important thing to point out about the letter, for sure. Natasha Clark in a moment, LBC's political editor. I don't want to keep John McDonald waiting any longer. Labour MP for Hayes and Harlington, a former Shadow Chancellor. This is the last thing you wanted to see, isn't it?
Yes, it is really. Since the election result, I think I was on air with Lewis at the time. I was saying at that time, look, we need to take a breath, analyse the results themselves, see how we've got into this situation, and discuss the way forward, and just take some time over that. I also said the leadership issue is bound to be on the agenda, and if it is, we need to look at a proper process for that, a proper democratic election, making sure there's a range of candidates, and also, if Keir is going to go, at least have some form of smoother transition and a dignified exit for him. So I feel as though, it looks as though, I know Wes hasn't said he's going to stand yet, but I'm sure he will. So it looks as though we're going to be bounced into an election that virtually nobody wants.
the election that we did have, the 2024 general election, it can be interpreted in this way and that, but what it didn't vote for was a very left-wing government. Isn't the truth that you want this to be slower because you want a left-wing candidate to win?
Well, I want a range of candidates, Sheila. I'm not backing any particular candidate, but what I want the rules to be changed so that you can have a range of candidates. At the moment, they changed the rules when Keir got elected leader to increase the threshold, but how many MPs you need to nominate you, and it doubled it, so that restricts the number. I really would like a genuine election which represents what we call the broad church of the party, so left, right, and centre. Yeah, and of course, if there's a left candidate, I'll be arguing for left policies. But let's at least have that debate. If we don't have that debate, I think a lot of our members will just feel a bit cheated and bounced. That's the thing.
I'll come back to you in a moment. Natasha Clark, is it your sense that at this point, until such time as you get Wes Streeting announcing that he will run, but let's assume for a second that he will, that then makes it much more likely Angela Rayner will be the softer left opponent to him than Andy Burnham? It doesn't really leave Andy Burnham time, does it?
No, Andy Burnham's got absolutely no time. He can't come back to Parliament quick enough. And just to go back to Mr Streeting's letter, he says in there, it's clear that you'll not lead Labour into the next election. There's a debate about what comes next. He said, unions and Labour MPs want that to be a battle of ideas, not personalities, and it needs the best possible field of candidates. That's really interesting because he's basically he's not saying, and I'm going to be involved.
Be me. Yeah.
It's got to be me. He's not saying that. So, like I say, he's not confirming that he is definitely going to be running. However, he wouldn't have resigned, surely, if he was not about to plan to run to actually formally launch this. This really is giving, I think, the shot back to number 10, which they were firing back earlier, allies of the Prime Minister, saying he doesn't have the numbers, this isn't going to happen, Wes has totally bottled it. And he, I think, is appearing to say, I think I do have the numbers. I think let's go for it. But I don't understand really why he's not doing that in this resignation letter, which is really very bizarre.
It is bizarre. Well, we'll find out in a minute. But John, to come back to you, the whole question of
John McDonald, Labour MP and former Shadow Chancellor, didn't hide his frustration. "This is the last thing we needed," he said. He'd hoped for time to breathe, analyse the election, and organise a proper democratic leadership contest with a genuine range of candidates, a real broad church debate across the left, right, and centre. Instead, he warned, the party was being bounced into a messy election almost nobody wanted. Sheila pressed him. Was he slowing things down just to give the left a better shot? McDonald shot back. He wasn't backing any one candidate, but the party deserved a proper fight of ideas, not a coronation. Then Natasha Clark, LBC's political editor, cut through. Streeting's letter has changed the game. By openly declaring Starmer won't lead them into the next election and demanding the best possible field of candidates. He's fired a direct shot at number 10. He stopped short of confirming he'll run. But nobody resigns like this unless they're ready to. Suddenly, Angela Rayner looks like the most likely challenger. Andy Burnham, no chance. He doesn't have the time. The leadership fight feels closer than ever.
Andy Burnham, why does he have to be part of this? There's a sense, and perhaps you don't think he does have to be, but there's a sense that for it to be a genuine open contest, he does have to be part of it. Do you think so?
I think a large number of party members feel that way. But I think people don't like the idea that he's been blocked. And so there's a sense of unfairness about that. And if that's the start of a leadership change, if you start off on the wrong footing, it just causes more division and instability in the longer term. So it's better to have an open democratic election. And if if Andy Burnham comes forward, he can get a seat in a limited timescale, well, so much the better. We'll have a broad range. But there might be other candidates as well. The key thing is, on all of these things, the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party controls the process. So what I've said today is, look, the National Executive Committee really has to just make sure that they steady the ship and that we have a proper democratic election where people feel they've had a proper say, and then, as I say, a smoother transition to a new leadership.
Tracy Brabin, the Mayor of West Yorkshire, was on the radio this morning describing a conversation she had with Keir Starmer yesterday morning. I don't know whether it was before or after Wes Streeting's conversation, but in which she was saying to him, the change has to be bolder. Your actions have to be faster. People need to see results more readily. And she was asked at least twice, if not three times, is Keir Starmer the right person to remain in post? And she couldn't say yes. She didn't say no, but she couldn't say yes. She just kept saying, well now, and then said something else. So well now is clearly now Yorkshire for no, by the sounds of it. But no, go on, sorry.
I've said, and as I said, I think I did in Lewis's interview, I said, look, I think Keir should go, but I don't want to be bounced into an election. I want a proper process where you just, what happened, what went wrong, what do we need to put right, and what sort of leader do we want, and let's have a range of candidates that we can choose from. Well, I just want democracy to prevail. There's not much to ask in the party, is it, really?
Wes Streeting's diagnosis is where we need vision, we have vacuum, where we need direction, we have drift. Is that right?
Sheila, he's been part of the cabinet. He's been part of the decision-making process for 2 years.
He's got good results in the NHS.
Well, I actually think if in the NHS his record is open to question because of the level of privatisation that's going on. However, leave that to one side. On every decision where I've been critical and where I even lost the whip, like on the two-child limit, he's in cabinet supporting it. I've never heard him in any way, privately or publicly, dissent. There's been no debate in cabinet. And I'm afraid I can't, my own view, and this is just a personal view, I can't see how anyone who's been in that cabinet for that period of time and been associated with such huge mistakes that we've made could in any way be the future leadership of the Labour Party.
Lewis, on that.
Well, look, I think there are two scenarios here, and we're going to basically have an answer, I think, by the end of the day as to what is motivating Wes Streeting. Scenario one is he does have the numbers, and we're about to hear that he's got the 80, and at some point today he will try and launch that challenge. There is a second scenario which is already being put to me by Labour sources who are not less friendly to Wes Streeting, which is this. Someone said to me, this is what's happened. He didn't have the numbers. He spent the morning trying to persuade Cabinet to move against the PM and failed. He now thinks the best way to collect real numbers is to resign. This person put it to me, he is royally, well, somethinged it. And this is the kind of, I think there is a world where, look, Wes Streeting, got to remember his side.
The debate sharpened further. Sheila asked John McDonald about Andy Burnham. For a truly open contest, did he need to be involved? McDonald agreed. Many members feel that way. Blocking him would start the process on the wrong foot, breeding more division. Let's have a proper democratic election, he said. A broad church, left, right, and centre. He revealed Tracy Brabin, Mayor of West Yorkshire, had told Starmer directly, change must be bolder and faster. When pressed, she couldn't say he should stay. McDonald was clear. I think Keir should go, but not like this. We need time to analyse what went wrong and choose from a real range of candidates. Sheila pushed back. Streeting's diagnosis was vision vacuum direction drift, yet he'd sat in cabinet for 2 years. McDonald didn't hold back. He supported every controversial decision. 2 child benefit cap, cuts, even privatization in the NHS, never once dissented. How can someone so tied to these failures now claim to be the future? By the end of the day, the picture may clarify. Either Streeting has the numbers and is launching a full challenge, or he tried, failed to sway cabinet and has just royally overplayed his hand.
Psychology. This is a man who has wanted to be Prime Minister, I think, pretty much his whole life. He is a keen student of Labour history. He will have in his mind the example in 1968 when Roy Jenkins was this close, the Chancellor of the Exchequer then, this close to becoming Prime Minister. If he'd had the bottle to challenge Harold Wilson, he did it. He never got the crown. He's got David Miliband in 2009 when he was Foreign Secretary, who was potentially this close to getting the premiership. If he challenged Gordon Brown and had the bottle, he didn't get it. He has someone who is very alive, perhaps more than any other cabinet minister, to his media reputation, which is well cultivated over time. And he will have been deeply aware of all the MP Labour WhatsApp groups sharing pictures of bottler wares, pictures of his face superimposed on Newcastle Brown Ale bottles and so on. So this could also be his way of, yes, trying to see if the respect or momentum he generates from this gets the numbers, or, as we're seeing as well, I see Patrick Maguire from The Times quoting a source close to Streeting saying he's a politician of integrity who leads with actions, not just words. He's genuinely energised by the prospect of a proper debate and the future of the country. He'll now be free to lead that debate. Or he's going to be something of a Michael Heseltine. This is his Michael Heseltine moment when he walks out, doesn't challenge, but tries to use the time now to cultivate more of a base within the Parliamentary Labour Party and set himself up as king over the water.
So, Natasha, when do we need to hear that he is or is standing before it becomes a damp squib?
Yeah, I mean, if he's not going to do it now, I don't see quite how he ever does it in the next couple of months at all, right? So obviously we've been waiting for this moment for such a long time where MPs will start to go over the top and start to resign, start to call for Keir Starmer's resignation in public rather than in private. That, of course, has happened. But for Wes Streeting, he's not got long to keep this momentum up. So unless he's going to come out later today and do a barnstorming interview, a speech, and we know that he is, by the way, going to do a speech on Saturday at this Progress, a Labour-affiliated think tank. But what is he going to say? Is he going to say, and now's the time to come join me, and now is the time to sort of challenge the Prime Minister? Or, is, as Lewis is saying, is he going to use the next few months to build up a base and to come back again when sort of the time might be right to say, well, actually, you know what, it's now time for Keir Starmer to go, and now we do have a Labour leadership ready and waiting.
Briefly,
I think actually what's happened here is I think that Wes Streeting has put himself into a corner. He may have the numbers, he may not. If he didn't have them, then I think that he has calculated that if he had backed down from within government, that the damage to his reputation would be so severe and so profound that it would be irrecoverable. And so he has decided, let's assume for a moment he doesn't know that he's got the numbers, he's decided to try and salvage and burnish his reputation as best he can, as he says in his letter, as a man of principle, as someone who wasn't able with integrity to continue to serve in the cabinet, and hope that earns him spurs among Labour MPs in the future who say, well, at least he had the guts to act when no one else would.
Let me ask you about that, John McDonald. Do you admire the fact that he's saying, if we agree and lots of us do the changes needed at the top, well, let's make it happen? Do you admire that? Is it gutsy?
No, look, Wes is just trying to seize an opportunity. It's as simple as that. My view is if...
Anything wrong with that?
Ambition is overriding principle and real political commitment. My view is this, is if he's really serious, what we should do is exactly as I've been advising, calm down, let's have that debate over the coming months about how it's gone wrong, where we need to go from here, and if that emerges into a leadership challenge or election of some sort, let's have it fully democratic. Just calm down and let's get on with governing the country as well.
The studio dug deeper into Streeting's motives. Lewis Goodall painted the psychology. This is a man who has wanted to be Prime Minister his whole life. A keen student of Labour history, he knows the ghosts of Roy Jenkins in 1968 and David Miliband in 2009. Both came close but bottled it, and never got the crown. Streeting, obsessed with his image, has seen the bottler memes flooding Labour WhatsApps. This resignation may be his bold bid to seize the moment, or his Michael Heseltine play. Walk out, stay outside the tent, and position himself as king over the water. Natasha Clark warned, "The clock is ticking if Streeting doesn't launch a challenge soon. Perhaps with a barnstorming interview today, or a big speech on Saturday, the momentum will fizzle into a damp squib." Lewis added, "Streeting may have cornered himself, If he lacked the numbers inside cabinet, resigning was the only way to salvage his reputation as a man of principle rather than look weak. John McDonald was unimpressed. This isn't guts. It's raw ambition overriding principle. If he's serious, calm down. Let's have a proper debate about what went wrong and what comes next. Then, if needed, a fully democratic contest.